Hey bookish friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Emily. Today's the start of yet another reading vlog. This one's not really themed other than the fact that I'm just picking 4 books off my TBR and I'm gonna vlog them so that I can start finishing up my TBR. So I just got back from a trip for work and I read quite a few books that I had picked specifically for my May TBR, so this is almost the rest of them, and I didn't vlog those. So if you're interested in some of the other books that you may have seen me pick in my randomly choosing my May TBR video, you'll just have to stay tuned until the end of the month when I do the wrap up. The beginning of the month was actually very fantasy heavy for me with what I read. What I chose this month was actually in general just very fantasy heavy, but this vlog I managed to split 50-50, so 50% fantasy, 50% not. So the first book I'm planning on reading is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I believe this is a friends to lovers romance. I know there's a lot of references to some of the traditional love stories that we've seen in the movies, and it's YA. So this is my first Lynn Painter book. I'm very excited to read one, and I do physically own another one, but this is the one that the fates chose me to start with, and I've heard that this is like one of her better ones. So we'll see how that goes. Then I will be reading The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. This is a book about witches in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they're joining like the women's rights movement, but they're also kind of making it like a witches' rights movement. It sounded interesting. It looked pretty. I have read one Alex E. Harrow book, and I did enjoy it. That was Starling House. So when I saw this at Barnes, I decided to pick it up and give her another try. Next, I'm going to read a thriller, which is Lisa Joel's Invisible Girl. So all I really know about this is that it's about a group of different people whose lives intersect when some girl disappears. And that's all I really want to know going into a thriller. I am not sure how I feel about Lisa Joel yet. I've read one book by her and I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. So this is me giving her a chance to maybe drive me more in the direction of reading more and more of her books, but we'll see. This will be the third book I read. And then I will finish out the vlog with House of Marione by JL. And this is kind of like a debutante fantasy kind of thing where this girl and her mother are on the run from some enemies, and the way that they can be protected is that this girl can be accepted into this prestigious group of people through this like ball, or they have a debutante ball. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, it's about her becoming like a debutante. So, and that will keep them safe. So that's, again, all I really know. I picked this up on a whim at Target last year sometime, so I'm happy to finally be getting this one off my physical TBR. So that's the quick rundown of what to expect in this video. I will come back to you once I've started Better Than the Movies and have some thoughts and feelings on it. Hey everyone, first update. Basically at this point, we've set the story. We have Liz and Wes, who are next door neighbors, and they've been next door neighbors like their entire life, and they're in high school, I think seniors now. And they have like a frenemies kind of relationship. So I was wrong about friends to lovers because I think it's gonna be like frenemies to lovers. And basically they pick on each other all the time. It is very obvious that Wes likes her. It's a YA, I think it's supposed to be like that. Long story short, this kid comes back, Michael, that used to be their neighbor, and Liz used to have a huge crush on him. And he like comes back and she's determined that she's finally gonna date this guy. So she asks Wes for help in getting Michael's attention so that she can fulfill that fantasy. She has this like dream in her mind of having a rom-com like relationship because her and her mother used to watch all of the classic rom-coms together, and that's basically what she thinks life's supposed to be like. It's very foreshadowing because they do say like you never should go for the bad guy or the one that everybody likes and the most attractive one and blah blah blah, all that stuff. She says that at the beginning, so you kind of know that it's not going to go in the way that she thinks it's gonna go. This is really fun. I think it's just gonna be a really fun, quick read. I'm hoping to give another update before I finish just because this is reading really fast. I'm only 50 pages in, but it didn't take me long to get there. Basically what we've gotten to is that she has bartered with Wes to help her get Michael's attention. And that's where we're at. I will update one more time before I finish this book. And I don't know if it'll be tonight or tomorrow at some point, but so far so good. The writing's really easy, really fast paced. The chapters are not short, but they're not long. They're like right in between, so that helps keep the book going along. But yeah, that's all I have to say right now. Enjoying it so far. So last update tonight, I'm about just under 50% of the way done with Better Than the Movies. And since it's YA, I'll say this in the PG way. Our girl Liz needs to get her head out of the clouds because if she doesn't know that Wes likes her, I don't know. but it's really cute. It is really adorable. I'm enjoying it. It is a fast read, but it's just one of those books that just like you're smiling the whole time because you know how it's gonna end and all the little cute moments and everything. It's really adorable. I'm enjoying it. So I'll probably finish this tomorrow at the rate I'm reading it, but yeah, that's where I am right now with it. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So last update before I finish this book out. I'm also embarrassed to say that I stopped at Barnes & Noble and Target on the way home today because I was looking for a specific book at Barnes and they didn't have it, but I still walked out with 4 books. And then Target's having buy one, get one 50% off, so I stopped there and got some hardbacks that I've been wanting to get. Amazon also just announced that they're doing the book sale of your dreams next week. So will I be buying more books even though I just bought 40 in April? Yeah, I will. But I digress. So I've got about 120 pages left of Better Than the Movies. I'm probably just gonna sit and binge this out. And I'm still really enjoying it. It's really cute. But I just wanna like reach through the book and shake Liz, who's our main character, because girlfriend is just not seeing it. And it's getting to the point where like I feel bad for Wes because I think he's getting like hurt that she's not seeing. I don't know. It's really cute. It's very predictable, very typical romance book, very YA, but adorable. And I'm loving it, but I want to shake her. So that's where I am. I'm gonna finish this out and then we can move on to the next book. I don't know if you can hear the rain, but it's pouring. But I just finished Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I honestly didn't think that a YA book would make me feel the things that this book made me feel. It was nostalgic. It was obviously high school, so it's not something that's obviously very relatable to me now. But the feelings of like nostalgia and the way that she wrote this book and made you feel for these characters was just unmatched. I really liked this book. It was just adorable. It just made me smile. Like it made me feel at certain parts, but overall it just made me smile. So I really enjoyed this one. Oh, it's just so cute. Anyway, the next book I'm going to read is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. Like I mentioned in the intro, this is about witches that kind of tag on to the women's rights movement in the late 1800s, early 1900s. That's all I really know. And I will start reading this. Don't know how far I'll get tonight because I'm going to dinner, but I'm going to start now. And then when I get far enough that I can give more of an idea of what it's about and what I think about it, I will check back in. I am just under 50 pages into this. I didn't get very far last night. There are 3 sisters that this book follows: James Juniper, Agnes Amaranth, and Beatrice Belladonna. And they're like estranged from each other at the beginning. And the first few chapters are just them individually and you're catching up to where they are, and then something happens and they're all in one place at the same time. And that's kind of where we are right now. And you're finding out like what they've been doing in the years that they haven't seen each other and like what their plans are now. You also know that the women's suffrage movement is going on, which is pretty much everything that the back tells us. There's a little bit of like witchcraft. It's not too heavy yet. There's a lot of mention of it and like how they were raised and that kind of stuff, but it's not super heavy on the witchcraft yet. So I'm going to sit and try to get through some of this before I have some fun things to do today, but I will update once I'm a little further along in the story to let you know how I feel about where it's going. I just read a line in here that kind of, it says, the older sister made the younger sister change into a dress that didn't have pockets, and the sister was mad because she couldn't take so much as a melted candle stub or a single snake tooth with her, and her sister informed her that this is the precise reason why women's dresses no longer have pockets, to show they bear no witch ways or have ill intentions. Is that why my pants don't have pockets? Sometimes, like, why do women's pants sometimes have fake pockets? And, like, our dresses, it's now just coming back. Is it because of witches? Like, is that a real thing? Because that's annoying if it is. Hey, everyone. So, it is... Did I talk yesterday? I think I gave a really brief update yesterday, and I'm only about halfway through this book. I think yesterday I told you I'd met all 3 sisters, and you kind of get a very brief introduction to, like, where they are in their lives. And then you understand there was, like, some type of betrayal between all 3 of them, and they were reunited. That's all we got to the last one. So now I have a little bit more of an understanding of what's going on. There's this town called New Salem that was basically built over Old Salem, which was burned to the ground because of witches. Witchcraft doesn't really exist anymore because it's been like pushed underground, but witches still exist. They're just quiet about it. These 3 sisters are all kind of at different points in their life, and they have the young one, Juniper, who is very wild, and she wants that power back. They were all like treated poorly by their father, like they did not have a good dad, and their mother died when they were young, so they didn't. He was the only parent figure they had. So they all kind of have not great feelings towards men. So the men are kind of, it's the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. So men are ruling the world, as we know. And they're trying to join these women's movements that are about getting the votes and just being treated equally. It's a whole equality thing, and Juniper tries to take one over, basically, and turn it into a witches' movement. And it doesn't go well because they demonstrate in ways that show magic, and obviously, like, the city council and the mayor and stuff are going to come for them. Essentially, they've started their own movement outside of the women's movement because they got kicked out of that. Juniper started it, but her sisters are now helping her. And they know that there's something sinister going on in the town that is not them. And I think I know who it is now that's like kind of leading it. And I think that's going to be a very important part of the book. But that's part of it, is that they're trying to bring back magic. And there's some other magical force that's evil that's trying to keep them from doing that. So that's where I am. I'm enjoying it. It definitely is moving faster now. The first 100 pages or so was really slow, but it's kind of a fantasy mystery, so you have to build the world and you have to understand what's going on, so I get that. But now that I'm more into the story, it's moving faster. So today's Mother's Day, so I will have a few hours this morning to read before I have to go meet my mom and sister for some stuff we're going to take my mom to do today. I'm really hoping to get this book done today. I don't know how likely that's going to be, but I'd like to get this done so that I can start on the next book, and we're not going to draw this vlog out for 2 weeks. It's been like 2 days. I'm being a little dramatic, but I will come back and update maybe when I'm closer to the end, because I obviously can't give too much of an update without giving stuff away, but I'll let you know how I'm feeling about the story overall. Final update before I finish, because I've got just under 100 pages left. The pacing on this book isn't my favorite. It seems like we go from a lot of action and a lot of stuff, and I don't want to put the book down to like 50 pages of me being really bored. So that hasn't been great trying to get through this, but I'm hoping the last 90 some pages are more along the lines of the fast-paced part of it, because they have to conclude a lot still. So yeah, that's where we are right now. A lot of this book is, and I think I only know this because I've been reading a lot of witch books lately, is the whole premise is really about like the maid and the mother and the crone, which are like two big, it's like the holy trinity of witches essentially. So that has become a really big part of the book, and it's kind of hinted at the beginning. So I knew it was going to go down that road, but the last 150 pages or so have really delved into that. But it's interesting. It's not my normal fantasy because it's like not a fantasy romance, which is technically what I probably read more than like high fantasy. I do read high fantasy, but this is kind of weird for me because it's just a very witchy book. So yes, it's fantasy, but it's not the fantasy I'm used to. They're not like fighting each other with swords and that kind of thing. It's a different atmosphere. I am enjoying it. I am enjoying the story. I just wish the pacing was a little better. Like, I feel like this book did not need to be 500 pages long. I feel like it could have been like 350 pages long, and it would still have told the story the same way. But I'll see how the ending turns out, and I will come back to you guys with that tomorrow, because this will probably take me right until when I fall asleep. I'll see you then. Hey everyone. I don't know if I've been updating you on what days of the week it is, but it is now a new day, and I finished the Once and Future Witches last night. This is my second Alex E. Harrow book, and I'd say it probably feels the same way as Starling House did. There were definitely some pacing issues I think I had with both books. It was interesting. The story like really picked up at times, but then I feel like it dropped off to where it was hard for me to get through some parts. This book was also like 520, I don't know, around 520 pages long, and I do not think it needed to be that long. The ending was kind of predictable. I don't want to say super predictable. Like, I think you kind of knew something similar to what ended up happening was going to happen. So it wasn't super surprising. It was just, it took a long time to get there. So I did enjoy it though. The story itself was really nice. It was a wonderful story of like sisters and the bond that they have, and women upholding their sisters, like not blood sisters, and standing by them and everything. So I really did enjoy that. Next, I picked up Lisa Joel's Invisible Girl. Lisa Joel's Invisible Girl. And I just got to the point in here where the girl goes missing, because that's like the big point of this, is that you're following a bunch of different people's lives. And I never read the thing, but now that I did, I'm gonna make sure I'm not gonna spoil anything. So you're following this one guy who lives in this street in London, the two families. So you're following a guy that lives like with his aunt on this street, and then you're following the family that lives across the street that has like a young girl and a young boy. The girl's like in her teens, the boy's a little bit younger. And he's going through a lot of problems at work, and there's been a lot of attacks on women happening in this area, and he's kind of being accused of it, sort of. And he goes down a dark path. And then there's these people across the street from him who the daughter has kind of pointed him out as like making her feel weird. So now the mother's like watching him. So that's the point of view you're getting, and you're getting Owen, who's this other guy's point of view. And I think there was one other girl that you got the point of view of, and I think that was the girl that went missing, because now she's missing. Like, I literally just got to the point in the book where she's missing. I think I'm about 100 pages in, 120 pages in. So it built up the story. There's like a bunch of different sub-stories going on within the main plot. I'm not really sure how they're going to all tie together, but I don't know that I'm gonna like how this one goes, because the way, like, where this Owen guy's going with his life and the topics that have been broached already are making me uncomfortable now. So I don't know what's gonna happen further on. I'm gonna read it because I am reading it relatively quickly, but how bothered by it I'm gonna be, I don't know yet. So they're definitely, and this happened to me in her last book that I read. She had these topics that I just was not comfortable, 100% comfortable reading. I got through it, but in general, I think she touches on some pretty difficult subjects in her thrillers, and this has been very similar to that. So I'm gonna continue reading, and I will update you all when I make it a little bit further. So last update for the night on Invisible Girl. I don't really know how to think about it. I'm not loving Lisa Jewell's writing, I don't think. Again, it's making me like really uncomfortable, and I don't know which road this is gonna go down, and I think it might be a road I don't like. But some of the topics she's talking about in this are just not something that I think needed to be put in a book, personally. But we'll see. I'll keep going. The story is obviously just continuing on. Nothing exciting is really happening. There are like parts of the story that I feel like are being skipped. So some of it's kind of confusing, like the jumps in time and everything are a little confusing, but that's all I'm gonna update tonight. I do not think I'm gonna finish this book tonight, so I'll talk to you guys tomorrow with where I get with this book and possibly to start the last book for this vlog. Hey everyone, it's the next day and I finished Invisible Girl this morning, and I have to say I don't think Lisa Jewell is the author for me. I think I'm not a fan of her writing in a way that there are a lot of like lags in her writing. For me at least, the stories just kind of seem to drag on and on and on. And they're a little bit, like the jumps in them are just a little bit confusing for me. I feel like there's too many. I don't know. I don't know what it is. If someone can tell me, no, this book's great, you have to read this book, definitely give this one a try. I may read one more of her, but I don't think she's an author I'm really gonna like go out of my way to buy a book from again. The ending was predictable. Nothing really shocked me in this. And wasn't a huge fan of the content in general. So not for me. I'm sitting around a 2.5 for this book, but for a thriller, it wasn't really thrilling, if I could say that, but oh well. Then I started House of Marion at lunchtime today. I made it about 45 pages in. This is about a girl named Quell who has this like power that this society is after to like basically get rid of in the world. So she has had to hide her whole life. Her and her mother have been traveling around trying to avoid this society and these members who have been tracking them, and her mother's afraid that like other people are going to find out. So that's how the beginning of the book starts, and then you find out that her grandmother is actually like really high up in one of these societies, because I think there's multiple. I'm not really sure on that yet. And in order to become part of the society, there's like a debutante season. And as she's running away from these people, they call them dragons. Dragons, not dragons. As she's running away from these people, she gets separated from her mother and she ends up at her grandmother's house, which is actually like the academy for this, right in the middle of debutante season. And her grandmother wants her to join in to become part of the society, but I do not think her grandma knows about her power. That's all I got. And I don't know how much more I'm gonna probably be able to say. That's the lead up, and that's pretty much what's said in the front. And then she meets a guy, Jordan. He's the one that like meets her when she ends up on her grandmother's property. And I'm pretty sure there's gonna be like a little bit of a I don't know if I'd call it enemies to lovers, maybe like a rivalry there that's going to turn into a romance, because I think he's going to be the trainer that she falls for whenever, that is her tutor that she falls for. It says that in the front. So far, so good. The hardcover, the naked hardcover on this book is also absolutely gorgeous. It's like roses. So that was a nice little surprise when I took the sleeve off yesterday. But that's all I got for that one right now. This is the final book for this vlog, so I'm gonna continue reading and I'll check back in and then we'll go from there. Quick update before I leave for the day. I got about 120 pages into House of Marion last night, and pretty much all we've done since the last I spoke is she's learned more about this order and how she joins it and what's required, and she's starting to understand her magic a little more and how this order could potentially save her from being hunted by these bad people. So we haven't really gone too much further into the story, but right now we're doing some world building. We're understanding their magic and what it requires to be one of these people and the different types of magic and all of that. So still enjoying it. I was very tired last night, so I didn't read too much, but I will continue today and update you guys when I get home later, or a little bit after I get home later. We'll see how my day goes. So final update before I finish House of Marion. I'm on page like 245-ish, and this book's like 400 pages long. So I'm reading along, and some stuff's being concluded, things are moving along, and then all of a sudden all these new things are coming out. And it's a fantasy book, right? Last 150 pages, I'm like, we're not wrapping this up. What is happening? Long story short, this is the beginning of a series. And I didn't know that when I bought this book. And I didn't know that when I started reading this book. But the second book comes out in September. And I forget what it's called, even though I just looked it up. But I'm enjoying it. I was just getting really confused about how we were wrapping up everything that was happening, because more things are being discovered and coming undone, and parts of the story are happening that I was like, there's no way this is getting wrapped up in 150 pages. I was right, because it's not. I'm enjoying it. I like the inkling of romance that we're getting. I just feel like there's going to be a real big betrayal at the end of this book, and that's what made me think that this wasn't a standalone. And then I looked it up and I was right. And I don't know who's going to betray her. There's like 3 people that I have on watch right now, and I don't know which one's going to do it. That's where I am. We're basically just following Quell through the steps it takes to be inducted into this society, this order. And there's 3 steps. There's 3 phases you have to go through. One is basically you get like anointed, and then eventually your magic is just supposed to you're supposed to come into it. I don't know. I can't remember what they called it. It basically just all of a sudden manifests in your body in a way that's visible, because you pick either a mask or a diadem, and she picks the tiara, obviously. And once your magic manifests in you and you come into it, either the mask or the tiara is visible to those that see magic. And then depending on what kind of magic's strong within you is the color and the size, like if the stronger you are, the bigger it is, stuff like that. But anyway, that's the first step. The second step is honing your magic, I think they call it. So basically you have to show the headmistresses of all of the schools that you can channel your magic through this like dagger that you have to create yourself. And then the third, I don't know, we haven't got there. We just finished the second trial, task, test, I don't know what you'd call it. But that's what we're doing. So my guess is that we're gonna finish this part of that out, and then there's gonna be a big old betrayal, and then we're gonna be a cliffhanger before the second book. But at least it comes out in September. I've bought a lot more books since my last book haul, so there'll be another one coming. I think I'm gonna like stop myself from buying anything that's not a new release or like the next book in a series that I've already started until I go back on vacation in October. I think that's what I'm gonna do. But I am gonna allow myself to buy some new releases. But I don't need to buy more books right now. Anyway, that comes out in September, so that'll probably be a book I save for when I go on vacation to purchase. I'm excited now. I think I'll like it. I think I'm gonna read the second one unless this one ends in a really bad way. I will update when I'm done and we'll close out the vlog. All right, so time to close out the vlog. We'll just go in order of the books that I read, and then I will give my final thoughts on The House of Marion at the end. The first book I read in this vlog was Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I loved this book. It was just the cutest, most adorable love story ever, and I did see that she has one coming out, I think called Not Like the Movies, that is like the sequel to this, so it is what are their names? Liz and Wes's time in college and learning to deal with their feelings for each other while being college students. So I'm very excited about that. Yes, this was YA. I didn't miss the spice. I just was giggling and laughing and smiling this entire book. It was so cute. I rated this 4.25 and I loved it. This was my first Lynn Painter and I will definitely be reading more of her books. Next, I read The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. This was a women's empowerment, sisters, fantasy, witch fantasy kind of book. It had a lot of politics in it, I think, more so than some fantasies that didn't really have a war going on. They were kind of fighting their own war, I guess. But I enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. So I did enjoy the story. It was just about 100 pages too long. So if it was about 400 pages instead of 500, I think it would have been maybe a little higher. It was not going to be 5 stars, but it may have been a little higher. I did enjoy the characters. I enjoyed the story. It was just drug out at times. It was probably the pacing that made me only give it a 4. But still, really enjoyed this. If you like a good witchy romance, if you like women helping other women kind of thing, this is definitely for that. Then I read Lisa Joel's Invisible Girl, and I didn't love this. It was predictable. It was not what I would call thrilling. It was kind of boring at times. Again, the pacing was really slow. And again, very, very, very predictable, I guess I would say. 2.5 for this one. I do not know that I'm going to read another Lisa Joel. Like I said earlier, if someone can tell me that I for sure need to read a certain one of her books, maybe I'll give it a go. But so far, she's kind of over 2 with me. So don't know that I'm going to give her another shot, but it's a book I read. Then I finished out with The House of Marion by J.L. This is a fantasy book that is kind of like a secret society. People have different types of powers and it manifests by showing itself as like a mask or a crown. They call them diadems, I think is how you say it. It's basically a tiara. And there's like good magic and bad magic. The people with bad magic are hunted by these good magic people called dragons, and they are supposed to be basically wiped from existence because the type of magic they have is not controllable in the good people's minds. So it basically takes over the bad person and they can't control it. Even if they don't mean to hurt people, they do. That's what they think. I don't know yet. This is the first book in a series. The second book, please hold, I looked up the name of it, comes out in September, and it is called Shadows of Pearl, which I think is another one of the houses, if I remember correctly. There's 4 houses, and there's 4 headmistresses. Marion is one, and that is who our main character, Quell, actually is a Marion. So there's a Pearl, and I can't remember the other 2 names, but they're the 4 like schools you can go to. It's almost like Hogwarts, but yeah, House of Pearl, House of Marion, House of Duncan, and House of Ambrose. It's almost like Hogwarts, but the 4 houses are like separated schools, not just like within one academy. But anyway, Quell, we follow her, and she has this bad magic. She calls it like, I can't remember what she calls it. She has a name for what it's called. Tusana, something like that. And she's trying to hide it. She's trying to join the society so she can kind of override this power with good power. And nobody really knows she has it except her mother, and she's been separated from her mother, and she decides to join the society because she reconnects with her grandmother, who's one of the headmistresses. And then there's a love story, and there's betrayal, and it's wonderful. I really enjoyed it. It was a 3.75, so not like my favorite book, but I definitely think it's something that I will pick up the second book, and I think I will hopefully still enjoy it. So the story was interesting enough. I will be picking up the rest of the series, the second book. I don't know how many books it's going to be, but I liked this more than I thought I would because I bought it on a whim when it was on sale at Target, and I thought it was on sale maybe because it wasn't selling. But I really enjoyed this book. So that is it for this reading vlog. Not my best one, actually. Kind of slightly lower. No, I wouldn't say that. I had like one book that I didn't love. So not a terrible one. But if you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts on them. If any of these interest you, let me know. If any of these books make you think you should recommend another book to me, let me know. And I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.